All this beautiful whiskey finally has a place to shine. Here's my project for the summer to rework my studio and build proper storage and lighting for my whiskey collection. Stay tuned for the step-by-step process. My collection has fast outgrown my storage, so I ordered 2 IKEA Billy Bookcases. They're rated well for the weight of the bottles, and I knew I could work the LED lighting the way I wanted. Here are the tools you'll need for this lighting project: a pair of scissors, a pair of pliers, 2-sided tape, box cutter, a tape measure, and also a drill will be handy towards the end. This is a simple project where the prep time is more than the execution, but it's worth it. Find an LED light strip kit with LED lights that are compact and close together. This will give you a more consistent glow. The cheaper the kit, the fewer the lights per foot there will be. There's a link to this kit in the description. Along with the spool of LED lights, the kit will come with a power cord and a receiver so the lights can be controlled by a remote. This set has 4 pins, some have 3. It's important to know that when you're going to be Frankensteining the LED strips with a wiring harness. I want to be able to move the shelves in the future without having to completely rework the LED strip lighting. So to do that, I'll be making wiring harnesses that will go from shelf to shelf. The wiring harness will connect the LED strips from one shelf to another. This is the power end of the LED strip. You may need a part like this to connect to the receiver. I'll measure out from this end to the nearest cut line that will connect to my wiring harness. Make sure you have the voltage line and the arrow on the receiver aligned to ensure the correct electrical flow. Otherwise, it won't work. Then just plug that in and you're good to go. To make the wiring harnesses, I ordered a kit that has lead with 4 wires and connectors. There's a link to that kit in the description as well. Measure the space between your shelves and add on a few inches just to give you some wiggle room. Split the wire apart and thread each of the wires into each of the connectors. Make sure that each wire is fully seated. Using pliers, secure the connector. The metal pins in the connector will puncture the wire insulation and allow for electrical contact. On the other end of the connector, feed the LED strip into it and over the metal pins. Clamp down to secure. Now, I had trouble using just half of the LED connection. I ended up cutting the LED strip into sections so that I had an entire copper connection to use for each of the wiring harnesses. You do lose some of the lights, but it's worth it. It made for a far more reliable connection. When you're lining up the LED to the connector, make sure that the 12-volt line is in line with the black wire. Don't worry about the other colors. As long as the black wire is in line with the voltage line, your lights will be powered. Some LED strips have this soldered part and you can't use it to make a connection to the wiring harness. I measured out my strips and made sure that I had the copper connections at both ends to connect to the wiring harness. So I'll make this section with the power supply the bottom shelf. I'll measure out the strip for each shelf before I cut anything. As you make connections from shelf to shelf, power on the lights and make sure each LED strip is getting power. If you connect them all and then power on, and some of the lights don't work, it will be harder to troubleshoot a bad connection. Route the harnesses between the shelf and the backer board all through the entire unit. Make any adjustments with the harnesses and be sure the connections are good to go. If you find the LED strips displaying different colors, say one shelf is purple and another is red, you have an issue with the connector on the wiring harness. Go back and make sure those are clamped down tight. Now it's time to secure the LED strips to the shelf. Pull the cover off the adhesive backing and gently press the strip down to the shelf. I prefer to place them on the back of the shelf so the lights shine up and highlights the color of the whiskey. Once the bottles are placed, you don't really see the light strip nor the wiring harnesses. So here you have the completed IKEA Billy bookcase ready to hold some lovely single malt whiskeys. Each shelf has its own light source with a harness to the next shelf. I can make changes to the shelves without reworking the whole light system. For safety reasons and looks, I want to get rid of this gap by securing the two cases together. I clamped them and then drilled a hole in 3 places along the cases where I knew I'd never put a shelf. Then I used this nifty fastener. It's called, get this, a 1.5 inch plain interior binding post screw to connect them. You should be able to find these at your local hardware store. Finally, I used the brackets provided by IKEA to secure the entire unit to the wall so it won't ever tip over. Now comes the fun part, placing all the bottles. I'm very happy with the results. I love the backlit effect on the bottles, seeing all the gorgeous colors of the different whiskeys. The complete lighting project costs was just under $50 per bookcase. And it makes the perfect backdrop for the Scotch on the Bayou studio. Let me know what you think and if you have any tips or questions about this project. Until next time, it's Laja, y'all.